Hey, welcome to another episode of GeekOutdoors.com. So this week, there's a little bit of controversy in the never-ending war between Android and Apple because Facebook is involved. And then secondly, we have Samsung Linux on DeX. So let's go ahead and start with this beef between Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg and Apple CEO Tim Cook. So on a recent interview that Tim Cook gave for MSNBC, he was actually very critical of how Facebook handled the whole Cambridge Analytica scandal. And what he said was, I wouldn't be in this situation, meaning that Apple cares about their users' privacy and Facebook doesn't. And so these comments actually infuriated Zuckerberg. And in an interview he gave in Recode, Mark Zuckerberg was saying that Cook's comments were extremely glib and that I think it's important that we don't all get Stockholm syndrome and let the companies that work hard to charge you more convince you that they actually care more about you, because that sounds ridiculous to me. So I'm pretty sure what Mark was referring to here is the very famous reality distortion field that Apple has created, where people feel happy about paying more and not getting more out of it. And so this is something that I think has been a long time coming, because if you didn't know, Facebook has been using Android for a long time, and not just because of the fact that it's allegedly saying that Mark is forcing all his Facebook executives to use Android phones, but the simple fact is Facebook actually did have their own Android phone. Back in 2013, I think was when it was released. It was called the HTC First, and it was basically the first Facebook phone. And so, Facebook is no stranger to Android, and many companies use Android. And so what Mark Zuckerberg is saying, that he denies that, this had anything to do with that. It's just the fact that, Android is the most popular operating system, mobile operating system in the world. And I don't think that can be denied. And so it makes sense for them to use Android. And I don't think that he actually forced all his executives to use Android in the first place, because there are some execs that still use iPhones as well. So those remarks were, I guess, a little bit misconstrued. But at the same time, I could see how, this would piss him off, and that, maybe he is making people use Android. Who knows? It is Facebook. And so, it's just a little funny that, Apple's CEO would say something like that, when I really feel that Apple does a lot of things with their users' privacy that nobody knows about, because, I have talked about this many times before. Having data is the most important thing. And if you are using Apple products, it's actually tied to your Apple ID. And so they know way more about you than most. And the fact that Apple keeps a lot of things secret, you don't really know how all of that information is being used. Now, at least with Facebook, you pretty much know that they're collecting each and every piece of information that they want. And so I myself do not use Facebook for personal use, because I know that they collect a lot of data. And so, nobody's really innocent here, but it just happens to be funny that this little beef came up and how it also involved Android. And so speaking of Android, let's go ahead and talk about the Samsung Linux on DeX. If you didn't know, this is actually a feature that allows you to plug in your Android device, your Samsung Android device, and now you can actually use like a desktop on your computer. And you see right here, this is the Galaxy Note, and there it is. And I really thought this was a great feature, but now they're giving more power to developers, because a lot of developers do use Linux. And as you can see there, when you plugged it in, that looks like Ubuntu to me. And they are actually developing, in this Ubuntu environment. And with the power that the Samsung Galaxy Note has, I'm pretty sure it's able to run this just fine, especially if the main thing that you're doing is web dev or whatever type of development you're doing. Could be backend development. And this is really an awesome thing, because I really felt like the whole idea of having your phone become your main computer is something that I've always hoped that would come true. And this has been, a long time thing. And it wasn't just yesterday that this has been attempted. Because if you think about the whole Android world, Motorola was the first company to try this out back in 2011 with the Motorola Atrix 4G. And when I first saw it, I was extremely excited. You could actually plug in your phone to your computer, and you could use it like a desktop. And this to me would have been like the holy grail, And at that time, we had some pretty amazing specs. A 960 by 540 display. You had a CPU with the dual core 1 gigahertz, 1 gigs of RAM, 60 gigs of storage, and micro SDs for up to 32 gigs. Pretty awesome. And it wasn't until you actually plugged it in to your computer that you actually saw the magic of this right there, as you can see that. So when I first saw this, I was like, wow, that is awesome. But unfortunately, it wasn't the whole easy to use experience that I thought. And the whole interface web top is actually built on a custom build of Linux, very much so like all these other things. And then Microsoft was also in on it as well. They had their display dock, and they've tried this before on Windows Mobile, but just here, they had Windows 10 Mobile on a PC. And so this one looks like it would have worked really well because you are getting a Windows experience for people who wanted that from your Windows mobile phone. But unfortunately, we know what happened to Windows Mobile. And so I really feel that Samsung has, made a lot of strides in this area. And I still hope that in the future, our phones will be our main computer. And just looking at what it's able to do right here, just run Ubuntu, that is just sweet. I myself would prefer Linux Mint, but you could kind of see where this is going. As more and more companies are actually using Linux, either in a virtual machine, on cloud services, or in this case, straight from your phone, it's going to bring more and more people into the Linux ecosystem. And so I'm happy about that, and if it allows people to be more productive with their mobile device, then even better. And so this is right now in a beta. So I'm hoping that this continually gets improved because once again, I really would love to have my mobile device be my one and all computer, especially with how powerful these phones are becoming. So that is it for this week's news. If you had any thoughts on Samsung's Linux on DeX or the whole beef between Mark Zuckerberg and Tim Cook, be sure to leave that in the comments area below. And as always, if you did get value out of these videos, share, like, and subscribe. Hey geeks, if you are a creative geek like me and you wanted to learn how to create content on YouTube and other places on the internet, then check out my Gold Content Creators Group, where you'll get access to 30 videos plus additional content for all the creative geeks out there. And the best part of it is, all of this is free. Simply head over to the link below, check out my page, and sign up for my Gold Content Creators Group. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the other side. Thanks for checking out this episode. And as always, if you like these videos, be sure to click on the subscribe button. And for full written content, audio content, and additional geek stuff, head over to geekoutdoors.com, and I'll see you outdoors on the very next episode.